I'll
Okay.
act like I'm like studying my notes. I got my script in here, my notes.
All right.
Very serious.
I know. We're just waiting. See if we get anyone coming
Are
in.
we
It's only
recording? Oh, we are recording. Okay.
yeah,
Now you'll
we're
cut this
live.
part out when you post it.
Pardon me?
You'll cut this chitter chatter out when you post it, or is this part
No,
of
all of
it?
it. They get to see it all. Hello. We
I'm
already
going
have
to
two people
study
on.
my notes quick, thoroughly. Now,
We're just hanging out for a minute to allow people to come in, and then we'll get started.
do
I'll
you
be very
see people
official.
in or people in?
They just come in themselves. They pop in on the link.
But do they show up on the right-hand side, or do they only show up there if they make a comment?
Only if they make a comment. And
So
some people like to view in silence, unlike us.
I was just going to say, I don't know anybody like that.
Oh, goodness. And then it says post your questions here, and we can
I
see
saw
them.
that.
And I will give time in between too if you want to take comments as we move along.
I'll read. Yeah, I'm reading the.
Good. Okay.
I'm good at when the last couple times we did, I just read. Now
Excellent.
Scott is not going to be on, so I won't have to watch for him. And I asked my friend Ed to join, and he said, "Have you met me?"
Oh.
I'm like, all right.
Oh.
So.
And there is a slight delay. I finally figured out how to join just to comment. Oh, well, good for you. That's cool. Nice.
So,
at 8:01. So it's 8:01. They posted that. And we have the time right now is, let's see what the delay is. The posts are taking.
Paulina
Hi
is
there.
here. Hi, Paulina.
Oh, it came in through real time.
Yeah, it matches to what my phone has. 8:02.
Yeah, I have the same as you.
Are we ready?
Organized. Yes.
You should get one of those things that
Like what? Okay. All right. We're not on a set. Okay. All right. Hello.
Set. Hi, everybody.
Good evening. I'm Roxanne. This is Everything About Hallmark, and we are going to review. Actually, it's not we. Chip, my guest, who you've met before, if you've tuned in, is going to review the new Aurora Teagarden Mystery, which was Honeymoon, Honeymurder, which I love that. I think that title's cool. So he knows everything you can imagine about Aurora. So I am about Ro. I'm just going to let him take it away. Go ahead,
Ro. I thought today your family calls you Ro too. I've never called you Ro, but you're I know that
and we spell it the same way too.
Just R-O, yeah. So anyway, I'm Chip, and I have seen all of the Aurora Teagarden movies many, many times. I have them all on my DVR. I will say I've never read an Aurora book. Have you? Roxanne, have you read a book?
I've never read the book. I've only watched the shows.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't like I'm very particular about the books I read, and I just didn't think I'd like the books. And they came out in the 90s. I don't know if there's any current ones. But I've read other books by Charlene Harris that I've enjoyed. So, and she writes about vampires and all kinds of stuff. So this was Honeymoon, Honeymurder, which takes place a couple days after the wedding. And really, the wedding movie was only on, I think it was on in July. So they really, I think we've had 3 Aurora movies in 2021.
Yeah, they stepped it up.
It was really good. I got to say, I watch these things because I love these things. And I'll watch them, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. Some are better than others. I enjoy them all. And I really, really, really enjoyed this one. I was telling Roxanne before we came on the air, I almost I DVR'd it anyway, but I almost just was going to call it a night early. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I went on Twitter and I was Twittering with Mary Lou Henner, and it was actually really a lot of fun. But as for the movie picks up, I guess, just a couple days after the wedding, and it starts with one of the many exteriors of the Lawrencetown Library, which makes me laugh because I really have to go and make notes. I want to get a notebook and watch each movie, because I'm convinced this is a different exterior than another one. Then other ones make it look like it opens out into the street, and then other ones they're up and they have to do scary staircases that they chase killers on. But I get all that. I'm not a stickler for stuff like that. I just notice it, but I'm like, oh, they can't do that. They can do whatever they want to their show.
It's
I
a fun
loved.
fact.
It's a fun fact. I loved the scene in the library with Lillian because it was the only scene Lillian was in. There was actually no, it did not move the story except for Ro got to say, "Oh, our flight to Paris was delayed, so we're going to go to the cabin instead." She could have said that to any other number of characters, but they wanted to have a moment between Ro and Lillian because she brought her a gift to thank her for participating in the wedding. Now, of course, the business guy in me is thinking, they had to strike that set, pay her, do the crew. Who knows? They might have done it in another movie. I don't know. But the exterior of the library almost always makes me laugh. So does Rose's house and Aida's house. There's not a lot of consistency, and again, things I notice, but it doesn't keep me from enjoying the movie. I think Ro has had the same house a couple times in a row, which is way too big for a single lady or even a newlywed. It is huge. I lived in a giant house in South Philly that I didn't go on the third floor for 2 years, and I swear I'll never live in a house like that again. It's just, I'm saving the best for last, by the way. I loved that Lizzie was in there, and as soon as I saw Lizzie in the Real Murders meeting, I said, "Oh, Sally's not in this because Ro has to have like an ally." And I actually like it,
right?
Yeah, a sidekick. I actually like Lizzie. I've liked her in all the movies she's done. And I'll get to in a minute why I think it was actually good that Sally wasn't there. And
Actually, for a minute, she's a really good actress.
she is.
I
She
love
is.
her. Yeah.
She's beautiful. She's really pretty.
Yeah.
I love that Lizzie and Bubba are married. And I watched the first one recently, and it's funny because it was like nobody knew each other. Like Ro was actually introduced to Bubba. Now they went to school together. They've known each other their whole lives. And it's funny how it changes, but it was actually really funny. It was really how it was shot and just the growth of the characters. I was talking about Archie Bunker the other day, and if you watch an episode from 1971 and an episode from 1983, you see the difference in the character. You can't do a character for that long and not have a change in the character. So I'm really glad, Ro has changed. Aida's changed. They've really all changed. Aida's office exterior changes. Sometimes it's in a downtown. Sometimes it's a separate building. I did like that they mentioned the Robin Masters book. What I would have liked better is if they mentioned a Graham Winslow book from Mystery 101.
Oh, here we go.
Somebody tweeted that if you look close in the library, there was a Graham Winslow book there. But I would love for Lillian to refer to him and say that he's dreamy or something. I would love that.
We have to go look for that. I have to see.
Well, there's only one scene in the library, so it should be fairly easy to find.
Okay, I'm marking that down. I'm going to go on a hunt for that.
In fact, when Ro was talking to that woman in the library about books, I thought she was going to say Graham Winslow, but she said Robin. Is it Robin? What's his last name? It's not Robin Masters because that's the guy on Magnum. Robin. Somebody type it in if you know it.
Let us know.
Let us know. No Arthur, which again I think was a good thing. I love that cabin. The scenery was beautiful. When they do exterior shots on those movies, they're shooting in Canada. They're always beautiful. I think all of them, the Mystery 101s, and they're all the exteriors are beautiful. They went to the honeymoon. Nick wanted to go fishing. She couldn't go fishing with him. I mean, come on. We've all done things we didn't want to do. Do you think I wanted to go to the Rolling Rock State Fair in 2000 and sleep on a concrete floor for 2 nights? No.
But your friends
wanted to go, and I did it. And neither one of them are around anymore, and I have that memory. So anyway.
I have a question for you, Chip. It had to do with the honeymoon. So this is actually, and someone mentioned that. They said in the description, why is it a pre-honeymoon? And I was like, oh, there's no pre-honeymoon. And then I misunderstood. My mind went in the wrong
place. Right, because they were supposed to go to Paris.
Yes.
And in the last scene of the movie, they're driving in the car from Aida's country home now.
I know.
And they're driving on. And I hope they don't find Murder in Paris because they need their friends. Because this is a series that really counts on the secondary characters. Candace Cameron Bure is a beautiful, wonderful, funny actress, but she needs all those people around her. And there's been Hallmark movies she's in where she hasn't, but I think this has grown over 17 movies that we expect to see those people. So when they do the exposition in the beginning that Arthur's out of town, or Sally's out of town, or John moved away to be near his grandchildren, it kind of, or Bubba's away, it kind of like takes me a minute. Or Lynn has strep throat, I'll get back to that. So that's what I was waiting for. I think that's the first time Deborah Putnam just says, seems like Lynn is warming up to Roe. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about that.
I wrote that. I said, oh, Deborah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So much to say about this. Chip, before you go on, I have a quick question. I forgot, did they say where Arthur went? I know what happened to the actor.
With his mother and the kids.
Oh, okay.
She must have, and that was, Arthur's mother's never been part of it. But anyway, whatever they have to say to make it work.
Gotcha.
So in the last movie, in the wedding movie, I'm going to warn you, there's going to be at least 2 times in the show that I'm going to cry.
Oh, gee.
The last movie, Lynn.
Get ready, Deborah. Here you go.
And Miranda Frijan, who I hope I'm saying her name correctly, because I invited her to be on this on Twitter. She tweeted back to me she had COVID and she wasn't able to be on it. What I really wanted was a 30-second scene between Roe and Lynn. Because remember, Roe delivered her baby in the first movie, the first baby. And so they have that bond. And I just wanted her to have a scene with her. And if she's going to be there, they could have done a little FaceTime call where Lynn says, here it comes. I'm going to look away so I don't cry.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, I know that you and I haven't always seen eye to eye. I actually wrote a scene.
He did.
We haven't always seen eye to eye, but I hope you know that I only wish the best for you and Nick. That's it. Just and a little. But we got way better than that in this movie. Way better.
Now, Chip, hold on. He went on and on, folks that are watching, forever. He had to tell me about it in detail, how they should have had that scene in there. So when I was watching the next episode and I saw the speech that you're going to talk about and that she makes, I was like, oh my goodness, Chip is probably jumping around in his house. So
I was
happy.
crying. I was crying. Yeah. I sat there and I actually sat there and cried over a Hallmark mystery movie. So first of all, I will say they call this Aurora Teagarden Mystery. This was the Lynn Liggett Smith mystery. This was her show. She's such a good actress. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's a great singer. But this was her movie, and that's why I think it was good that Arthur wasn't there, because I think, and Sally, because Roe and Lynn needed that room, and that scene where she goes off on her when Roe says Arthur would at least hear me out. And Lynn gives that scene back, gives that speech back. Do you want to know why we can't be friends? It's because I can't trust you, and you're emotional, and you're this and you're that. And there's been so many times where I actually thought Lynn has backed herself into a corner. When they went away and did in Murder Most Foul, and she actually joined the Real Murders Club for that one time out of town thing to help figure it out, you could tell she was having fun. But she's so prideful and so stubborn. She's like my Aunt Gail, God rest her, that she can't give in. So she wants to be part of that group. I mean, Arthur, anyway. And it's not, somebody wrote on Twitter about her, Lynn being jealous. It's not about her being jealous that Roe dated Arthur 400 years ago. It's about that Roe just can't mind her business and gets herself involved. And she never shows up, Lynn. I mean, I got to say that. There's a lot of these amateur, like on Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher is always showing up the local cop. She never does that. She brings it to Arthur and Lynn and lets them go to the conclusion.
Right.
Unless she's ends up being held captive or thrown down a flight of steps or something. But Lynn was just from the first scene, from the previews, where she says, "This is police business, not yours." I said, she's going to really go off in this movie. And she did, and it was great. Every scene, and that last scene in Aida's house, I think it was in Aida's country house, when she kind of gives her that half smile. And she actually said to her, you may be the most brilliant mind that I've come across, but I can't be your friend.
Right.
Because you go up, look, she goes and she's like Jessica Fletcher. She corners killers unarmed with no backup and counts on Nick and Arthur to come save her.
I know.
And one day they're not going to be there. And yeah, don't get me started on my garage sale mystery theory on that. So I just thought that the whole thing with Lynn, the secondary characters in this series are so strong. The young cop, whose name I don't even know, he's a sergeant now. Philip, although I you know what, do have to say, Aurora Teagarden Mysteries, Hallmark has been working very hard, I think, to diversify their movies, and it hasn't caught up to Aurora Teagarden yet. They don't have a lot of minority characters. They don't, and so anyway, that's a long way for me to say they should put Philip and the sergeant together.
Oh, okay, that would be interesting, right?
I don't know anything about the sergeant. Philip is like spending all his time with old ladies. I mean, chances are he's gay. So
could
right,
be
right, Philly Hallmark guy, and yeah, he's
okay.
And, would that be the end of the world? I mean, it would be actually kind of funny. And it would actually be funny if they spent a whole movie sneaking around, like Billy and Adam in the olive oil movie.
Oh my God, you in the olive oil movie. Keep going. Come on.
So anyway, the secondary characters are so strong. And there's so much backstory. Like Aida was talking about going to visit Charles at the end of the month. So
I
now
know.
we're all invested in them getting back together. So in the next movie, will she have come back? And what's happening? Is he going to come back? Are they going to get back together? What's he doing?
They had a kiss.
They had a kiss. They had a kiss, yeah. And there's who else? Lillian. We know nothing about Lillian other than her sister's husband fell out of the sky in Aurora's front yard. I would love to know more about Lillian. Oh, and that guy, the mob accountant turned librarian.
Yeah,
she hooked up with in a Murder Most Foul. Lillian in the last two movies, in How to Con a Con and this movie, Lillian softened up. If anybody saw How to Con a Con, the first 5 minutes, Ro prints off, and these are the best scenes. Ro prints off something off the printer, says, Aurora, how often you were going to do the magazines? And she said, I just printed this up to see if you'd read it at our wedding. And she just falls apart. I mean, Lillian, like Lynn, spends a lot of her time closing herself off and really wants to be part of it.
Right.
And then she said, what did she say, Aida? You've raised a fine daughter, Aida. It's great. And even the class reunion one, which was on, I mean, they ran most of them this weekend. To get that backstory, now we know Rose's high school boyfriend's a killer. That's great. And Bill from the old Murder She Baked was the murder victim. Oh, can we talk about How to Con a Con for a minute? The victim, I don't know the actor's name. I'm sorry. He was on Murder She Baked, and he was in another Candace Cameron Bure Hallmark movie, one of my favorite Christmas movies. If you haven't seen it, Christmas Detour. And he played a character named Frank, who was traveling with his estranged wife, Maxine. They stole the movie. See how Lynn stole this movie? Frank and Maxine stole this movie. And I would love it if the next time Aurora moves, Frank and Maxine are her neighbors, because
that would be cute.
Played by Sarah Strange, lost her job when Garage Sale Mysteries went away.
I know.
So I know. And she's on a lot of Hallmark things. So I just think that they've developed such a rich history now that like Candace can go on vacation and they can do one without her. But there was a couple seasons when Angela Lansbury was tired of doing Murder, She Wrote. She was only in every other episode. They could do that. Arthur and Lynn and Nick and Sally, and even Terry, who's the mayor turned realtor, they could do that. They've created. They could actually just call this the Lawrenceston Mysteries now. They've really just created a cast of a community of characters that we all care about. And there's really nobody we don't like.
That's true. We do.
I never not liked Lynn. I said, she's a little, whatever. And she was tough in the first one. But she, Scott said Davis. Was that the guy's name? The author's Robin Davis?
Yes.
No, Robin Daniels.
Daniels.
Robin Daniels.
Now, before you go any further, in the chat, there was something interesting. Teresa was saying that she feels that Philip, the character, really doesn't have a purpose. And we know as writers that you have characters in there to advance the storyline. But her suggestion was that she would like him with Sally because, you know, Sally's a reporter. She's always going to want information and he doesn't want to give it. And there'd be like a cool conflict. And I like that idea. Yeah.
And to me, Philip does have a purpose.
Okay.
I mean, he does all the dirty work.
Okay.
In Heist and Seek, he inadvertently carried the thing. I think in the very first ones, remember Perry Dale and then his cousin Jason Dale?
Yeah, I do.
Philip basically replaced that character.
That's true. That's true. And someone else said, I think it was just to comment, says she, I'm not sure because I don't know that person's name. He or she feels like it's the beginning of the end. I guess
because they got married. Because
I know.
In soap operas, and Scott made a comment I wanted to get back to. In soap operas, you know, for those of you who don't know, and I say it every time, I worked in soap operas for many years. The death knell was when two characters who loved each other got married. Now, and that was often the case. I mean, Luke and Laura are married and divorced 15 times. However, it's not always the case.
Yeah.
If you look back, you know who I'm going to talk about, Roxanne.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back at As the World Turns, which went off the air in 2010, there were two characters, Tom and Margot. He was a lawyer. She was a cop. They actually were the longest running married couple on daytime television. And they had a couple hiccups here and there, but you know, they essentially had a happy marriage for 30 years. And the first actors that played them actually got married in real life and are still married. So it can be done. I mean, the idea is to keep interesting characters and interesting stories around them. And Chip, Scott said, oh, go ahead.
Go with that. On When Calls the Heart, real early on, season 3, was it season 3? I think, or was it 2 or 3? I forget. I can't believe I forgot it. Two characters, Lee and Rosemary, got married, and they have been married for many seasons, and they have the most interesting storylines. I love them together. They're the glue that keeps that whole, like, they're the center of that show, and they're involved in all the characters' lives, and it's been interesting. So it can be done.
That's good writing. You got to fight to keep the characters from being boring. Now, when Scott wrote Davis in there, he didn't mean Robin's last name. He meant the character Davis, who I forgot all about.
Gotcha.
He wants Davis and the cop together. I think Davis is an interesting, unexplored character. He came from nowhere. Remember, he was kind of snippy the first one, and they thought he might actually have even been the killer. And he comes from a lot of money. I mean, there's such potential there. And remember Eric, the professor that they tried to fix Sally up with in Heist and Seek. I mean, he must not have tested well because they dropped him because he was there in Lawrencetown. I mean, he's still Nick's friend. Where is he? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. They bring characters in, bring them out. The character I miss the most, and I don't pine for him because I think it opened up Aida. I thought John was a good character, John Queensland. But I guess my guess is that they wanted Aida to be able to date and have other relationships, because in the first one he wasn't in was the one where they were filming the movie and she was like cozying up to the director or the producer, somebody. But,
all right, so Chip, hold on.
Do we have questions?
Yes, but there's comments. There's stuff coming, but someone had said in the book, Ro has kids, and I know you have feelings about this topic. What do you think? You think that they're going to have children?
I hope they don't.
Okay.
Because that's the death knell. Not a happy marriage. Like, what's she going to do? Be running around 8 months pregnant, catching a murder? Missing her baby shower because she's being held hostage.
Well, you just wrote a story right there, Chip.
She can't, breastfeeding, and I don't think that would work. I think if they do a jump and she has a 5-year-old, it might be a little different. But I don't think her being pregnant and having a baby would be good. So
Teresa was saying she was wondering if why did they finally let Aurora marry after her other boyfriends didn't last? And do you think she'll keep her last name?
Well, it's Aurora Teagarden Mystery, so I hope she does.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, she's not a lawyer or a judge. not to say anybody should or shouldn't keep their last name, but typically a librarian would, why wouldn't she take her husband's name? But Teagarden is a distinctive name, well known in Lawrencetown. She may not want to, and I also know professional women who, she's Aurora Miller at home. She's Aurora Teagarden, like to the kids' friends. Mona, my old boss, she was Mrs. I'm not going to say the name.
Yeah.
To the kids' friends, but when she was in court, she was Miss whoever.
Yeah.
And so you can balance that. Why I think they had her marry Nick, I'm guessing it was network testing and focus groups that they wanted her with somebody.
Oh.
I think Robin was not a good match for her. I didn't think Martin was a good match for her. I'm not even sure Nick is a good match for her. Actually, I liked her with the minister in the very first movie. Do you remember she went out with him?
The very first one, when she first introduces the meeting and the club, and do they get hit with the stack? Somebody gets bludgeoned or something, right?
This is the one that the older lady Jane dies and leaves Aurora the house. It's called A Bone to Pick. It's not the first book in the series, but it was the first murder movie that they did. And it's the one Lynn is pregnant and they all go to the lady's funeral and Lynn's pregnant out to here. And she says, oh, Arthur must start dating her 2 hours after he broke up with me.
Okay.
So it started out a little adversarial, but they didn't know each other well. And so she went out on a couple dates with the minister, who I thought was a good match for her. And in that one, that's when John met Aida, and John was Sally's uncle. And then they dropped that. They've kind of forgot that.
Well, we have to forgive them of certain things.
Yeah. But the whole thing, Sally's whole family is so odd with
you know what I think is funny? I wonder if they think we don't pay attention. And I laugh at that because
I wonder. And Romy said she prefers Nick. I didn't like Martin for that same reason. I do like Nick. I do like that Nick supports her. I just don't see them as a great match. I mean,
I like them together.
He seems like a puppy dog following her around.
And I get that. And you think she needs somebody who's much more of a challenge. Maybe he'll change a little bit. Maybe they'll do it.
I like them. Look, I like him. I like them separately. And I don't hate them together. I just think somebody decided it was time for her to have a serious relationship leading to marriage.
You know what? Philly, a Hallmark guy with his sense of humor always. And he says her initials are now ATM. I have to tell you something. I was making notes and I made it ATM. And I'm like, oh, look, her initials are ATM. I thought of that too. The minister didn't appreciate her. He thought she was too all over the place. How dare he?
Well, that was the first movie. They were all over the place.
Yeah, they were.
I wish that they had given him another chance, because either that or the actor wasn't interested or they didn't like him. I mean, who knows? There's a million things. But what you were saying about they think we don't notice, and I know we're almost out of time. It's not that we don't notice. It's that Scott said Philip is going to be Lynn's protege. Wouldn't that be something? Not Arthur's protege, but Lynn's.
Yes.
That would be something.
Yes.
That would put a whole nother dynamic in the whole.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Good idea.
Anyway, as far as them thinking we don't notice, I'm curious what kind of continuity people they have. Now, in soaps, there is a person whose job it is to say, oh, wait, he can't be with her because his father was married to
right.
And either they go with it or they don't. But and then sets there's the sets are taken up and down all the time, and there's people walking around in the old days with Polaroids saying, oh, well, this goes here because Miss Francis in Mississippi is going to write in and say, why is the decanter here when it was here last week? There was no scene with them drinking wine. So continuity is important. And I would imagine with only doing 2 or 3 movies a year, those sets coming up and down, actors being available and not available, I'm sure production people are available and not available. So
that might be where it gets lost.
There's a lot of inconsistencies. I mean, we found them in Mystery 101. We found them in Murder, She Baked.
Sure.
And you can't let it take away from your enjoyment. I mean, that's what I tell people all the time. Roe is at least 39 because they did her 20-year class reunion.
Oh, that's right.
They stuck her at an age. I actually thought it was going to be non-specific. You know, welcome to the Lawrencetown High class of 19, and then have like balloons over it or something, like on the Goldbergs when they never want to say what year it is.
Yeah.
But they stuck themselves. It was the 20-year reunion. So now they got to live with that. And Candace Cameron Bure has got to be 44, 45, and she looks great.
Yeah, I think it would be great. That's going to be my wish list. I want that she is pregnant and she's running around 8 months pregnant. She's late for her own baby shower. She's trying to solve a mystery, and that's when her husband finally becomes the man that says, I'm not allowing such things. Like, he's going to crack down.
Not allowing. What is this? 1950? Is it Ricky Ricardo now?
Yes, it is.
Well, you know, that would be an interesting dynamic because they've been equals this whole time, and now she's continues to put herself at risk. Somebody has to have a talk with her. You put yourself at risk and I wonder how many years it's supposed. In Lawrencetown time is it?
Right.
I'd love for them to show Arthur and Lynn's kids to see how old they are.
Oh, that's true. Now, Chip, because we're about to wind down, I don't know if anyone has last minute comments or questions. It takes like a minute for them to come up. You can put them in. And do you have a wish list? Do you have like a wish for the next video? I mean, for the next episode?
I didn't really get into Lynn the way I wanted to.
Okay.
This was Lynn's movie. Miranda Ferjone was amazing. She's a terrific actress. There's a movie, Cookie Cutter Christmas. I don't remember a lot about the movie, and Roxanne had to remind me she was the actress, but I remembered the character. Yeah. So she just brings a lot to whatever she's in, and this was her movie, and I want them to continue to cultivate that. I had a friend for most of my life whose mother did not like me, and his mother
and time, folks.
His mother and so towards the end, she passed away in 2004. We had this respect for each other for our place in his life, and she died, and I ended up being one of her pallbearers. So
she loved me.
Well, that's because you weren't. That's a whole other. We can do a whole half hour on that. So they need each other. Everybody needs all these fictional characters need a nemesis.
Yeah.
But they also, you think about, I'm going to go back to soaps. Think about if anybody's watched The Young and the Restless, Mrs. Chancellor and Jill.
Oh.
They hated each other, but they needed each other.
They did.
Jeannie Cooper, who passed away about 8 years ago, Jill's just floating around. She doesn't know what to do with herself because she doesn't have Mrs. Chancellor to fight with. So I think that they need each other, and I would like the relationship to soften. They're never going to be friends, ever. They might want to be friends, and Lynn all but admitted she wanted to be Rose's friend, but she just can't trust her because she doesn't approach these things like a professional police person should.
Hi,
and
Jill.
She basically said, and my husband doesn't either because he's a dope.
Well, I know. You and I kind of secretly say Arthur is a dope, right?
I always say he's dim.
Okay, that's it. There's some cool things in here. So Philip, a Philly Hallmark guy, you cracked me up because he said Philip is going to discover the next murderer who will be Norman after he snaps. So
Philly
he's
Hallmark
crossing
guy
over.
Norman in Murder, She Baked is going to snap because nobody's that nice after being. Look, if I was dumped for Cameron Matheson, I guess I'd be okay with it. But I wish that they had showed this woman that he was dating, other than his girlfriend in Canada, that doesn't exist. I wish so that we'll come back to Hannah Swenson another time. But I would like for there to be crossovers. I think Mystery 101 and Aurora Teagarden are just begging to be crossed over.
They are. They should listen to you. Teresa says, do you know if she really speaks Japanese? She was awesome in October Kiss.
Is that Candace? I didn't see that one.
No, Miranda
Ferjone. I did read that she's fluent in like 6 languages, if that's who you're talking about.
And hello, Jill. We see you. And Linda says, I thought Lydia, I thought the episode should have been more the honeymoon, and it was a little unrealistic for me. Would have liked more romance. Well,
let's talk about this. Is worth going overtime for.
Oh, we're good. You can.
Nobody, you know what? When the new Hannah Swenson came on earlier this month, Cameron Matheson and Ally Sweeney were on a couple talk shows, and they were talking about how Hallmark is loosening up a little. It's not daytime, but they're loosening up a little. And we saw that in the Hannah Swenson movie, right? And what I was actually just stupefied by, they're having breakfast on a honeymoon and they're fully dressed. I mean, they couldn't have been in a bathrobe. I mean, we didn't have a bedroom scene. It's Hallmark, I get it.
Yes, they were in their bathrobes and came down the steps in their bathrobes when when Elizabeth and Jack were married. But the funny thing was they kissed, and I think he said not in One Calls the Heart, in this one, let's have some dinner. And she was like, oh, I got an idea, other ideas. And they kissed and off they went. And I was like, oh, they're alluding to intimacy. Wow. I was like,
Scott, a Philly Hallmark guy, sent me a text during the movie that alluded to that too. Arthur's mother's going to convent.
Oh, don't even.
She gave up Amy's brother birth. That would be funny. They should have Arthur and Al and brothers.
You know what, Philly Hallmark guy, you're on the wrong channel.
Oh, leave him alone. He hurried home from dinner to join us. Nick's mother, I thought, was an interesting character. She was on one of the. She was the killer in one of the Martha's Vineyard mysteries, and there seemed to be something about her that there needs to be more. There's a lot of potential. I mean, like I said, they could, if Candace decides she won't do these anymore, they could have Roe move out of town and call it the Lawrenceston Mysteries, and they do just fine. But I hope these go on for a long time.
I think, just to comment, I'm not quite sure if you're talking about. She was saying, I think that they think they're going somewhere, but then they forget, or the story doesn't match where the next story goes.
I think you're talking about the honeymoon. So so in the story, there was fog, and they couldn't leave for a couple of days. So Lizzie gave them Aunt Gladys's cabin.
Right.
And there was not enough honeymoon love time. Thank you, Scott.
You're right. And there's a good question here. By Romy. Is that how you say that? I don't want to say it incorrectly. It says, they're talking about Ro and Lynn. Like, do you think that Lynn would have not disliked Ro so much if they hadn't dated?
I think at first that was it, but now I think she uses it as a shield to say, okay, I can't be your friend because you dated my husband before me. When really it's because why she said. There was a line in How to Con a Con.
Yeah.
When Nick actually apologizes to Arthur because he wanted him to be a groomsman, but Ro didn't think Lynn would be good with it. And Lynn, of course, is all knowing. Just, you think I wouldn't be good with my husband being in the wedding of the woman he dated before me? Imagine that. So she uses that, right?
Yeah.
And even that little scene, she's great. I mean, she steals every scene, and they give it to her. And I was saying to Roxanne before we came on the air that this is two actresses that work well together and trust each other, because that scene could have gone a million different ways, and it just was so dynamic and so wonderful, and it gave us such insight more into Lynn than to Ro. And I think lesser actresses wouldn't have done. And when Lynn gave that half smile, I mean, you don't see a lot of subtext in Hallmark. It's all out there. And when she gave kind of that half smile at the end, I'm like,
there's your favorite part.
Arthur's going to come back and say, what happened?
Oh my gosh. Paulina, are you saying that you're surprised by that whole little honeymoon comment that they made? I think that's what you were saying to me. I know. I was like, oh, that part's the thing that kind of stood out the most for me. That and the meanness of the neighbor.
That we talked about that.
Overly mean.
That was one thing.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand the characterization. But at the end, she was having coffee with them. All right. You were mean to me. I understand why. I forgive you. Bygones be bygones. But you're not coming to my house for coffee. You're not coming to my mother's country house for coffee. So
Chip, who solved the mystery? Did I solve the mystery?
You and Scott both did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I said, oh, it's this woman because how they just placed her in the midst of it. I'm like, oh, it's her.
And they follow a formula, right? It's always not just Aurora, but these movies. Like I remember the first Mystery 101. It was that the guy, the maintenance guy. I mean, he was there the whole time. Nobody really paid a lot of
right from the
attention to him.
beginning. Yeah.
So it follows a formula. But you know what? I don't watch these movies as a soap opera fan. I don't watch these movies for the mystery. This was better than average as far as the mysteries go. You know, I watch them for the characters.
You are correct, and I agree. Okay.
I mean, that's why there's been 17 of them. That's why As the World Turns was on for 54 years. People care about the characters.
They can't end with 17. They've got to round that out. They've got to make it at least to 20.
I would imagine first of all, she's done more Hallmark movies than anybody. I think she has.
She's up there with Lacey Chabert.
Yeah, I think she's got more. But I think she has the most Christmas movies. They're not letting her go. Lynn and Philip are the Hallmark Batman and Robin. I love that idea of Philip being Lynn's protege.
You know what? It's good. And they're going to work together as they solve the mystery when Ro was pregnant, 8 months pregnant, running around and missing her baby shower. We have to put it out there because you never know when a Hallmark writer's was coming by, stopping and popping in and listening.
Meanwhile, I would love for Sally. She doesn't have to have the love of her life, but Sally is like become one of those characters, and she's a great actress. She's funny. She has good timing, and they're just making her, a coffee pourer.
Wait a minute. Who would be the godparents if Ro does have a baby? Who would be the godparents?
Sally and Philip.
Okay. All right.
That was the maid of honor of the wedding.
All right. That sounds good to me.
Unless we see Nick's brother, who's a diplomat.
Maybe he's never around.
Yeah. No, there's a story there, though. His brothers, I mean, they've created this whole universe, right? That this can go on for years and years and years. But I would like Sally to at least have, she doesn't have to get married, but I'd like her to date. You know, the one date she had turned out to be the killer in the second or third.
I know.
And then this other guy, I don't know, he fizzled. And My Graceful Simple Life said I was convinced it was the stepson and mom was protecting him. I thought that was a little easy. I thought that too. And then I thought, nah, they're not going to take that easy way out.
Yeah, it was too easy.
Ro does not have a brother. They've never said whether she has a sibling. They've never said it, but she got married and nobody said, oh, it's a shame your sister. Now, with that said, they never mentioned Michelle, the third sister in Murder, She Baked, until this last movie. But in the books, there were three sisters. And I don't know the Aurora Teagarden books, so I don't know if she had a sibling. But I
thought they did mention Michelle once or twice.
Somebody said that, but and it may well be, but I didn't see that. Yeah. The books, the Aurora Teagarden books are vastly different. They take place in the South. I think she married Martin and he dies.
Yes.
And then she marries Robin, and there's no Nick, or maybe there is. I don't know, because now they're made for television. Now they've taken on life of their own.
Right. All right, Chip, we're going to wind down. I'm saying to everyone, thank you for chatting with us.
Thank you, everybody. And if there's any other series you want to hear us talk about, I can go on. But I'll tell you the ones I like. Mystery 101, Murder, She Baked, Aurora. What's the other one? Oh, Gourmet Detectives. I tweeted Dylan Neal the other day and said, when are we going to get some more? And he said, talk to Hallmark. Sally getting married and pregnant. That would be great if they were pregnant together. This
is getting even better. We've already written the next episode.
Although I'm not comfortable with her being pregnant. I would like for them to do maybe at the end of one movie, honey, I'm pregnant, and then the next movie is 5 years later.
Oh, Chippy, no.
And then Lillian, yeah, you're right.
Oh no, I can't. No, I'm not listening. Don't listen to that.
And Lillian and Graham Winslow has to come over from Mystery 101, so Aida and Lillian can fight over him.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
We'll see you next time. We don't have another one scheduled, but we'll do one soon.
We don't, but
Well,
we
you do
will.
one every Monday night. I'll horn in on one.
Okay.
Oh, the photographer and the reporter. There was that was Picture Perfect Mystery. They're a real life married couple, and she had a baby, and I think so. They all got put on hold.
Oh, we got Paulina's question right under the wire.
Yeah, I just answered it.
Good. I know I said
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
So thanks, Romy. I think it's amazing that people actually come watch us blather. So
I know.
because we do this all day, whether there's a camera on us or not.
All the time. Wait till Christmas. Oh my
gosh. Oh my gosh.
I know.
So Roxanne, I will see you maybe, depending
Yes.
on what COVID is like in New Jersey. I'll
Yes.
see you next weekend.
Yes.
And Scott.